fix it. It slid a little bit. Okay. Hi, Sag. This is your homework family reading for all Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs for August 1st through the 15th. This is the Lionsgate, people. You know the drill. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. There's just something about the bells and me, and I have to hit the bells so that I know we're at the right frequency. You know, so all good stuff is coming in, and I don't have lingering bad junk trying to sift into the reading. So I'm trying to give you the best that I can with making sure I got the vibrations as high as possible. Okay, Sag. First off, I'm sorry. That pillow was bothering me. I don't know why. But first off, yeah, I know. Some of you are trying way too hard to push to receive. Spirit's just saying, point blank, some of you are pushing way too hard to push to receive. And I was going there, but apparently they wanted me to say it that way. Some of you are having, they're redirecting what I was going to say. Some of you are having issues. Some of you are having father issues or male issues that you are addressing or surfacing. More or less coming back around and showing you where the issues have been. Like I said, in a masculine, a male, or a father figure way. Some of it is that you're trying to overpower your intuition. And you're trying to push your masculine energy around. And in fact, by doing it, it's actually kind of going against you instead of working for you. You may like to do everything yourself, but you know, and you may find it hard to accept help, but you need to be willing to accept help. Be willing to try new things and to create in new ways of manifesting is what I'm being given. Okay. And some of you are scattered. Well, we are talking about Sagittarius because I very much got a scattered energy just then. A lot of what's going on as you approach this Lionsgate energy, I don't know how to explain it other than I really didn't get that. I'm sorry, Spirits jumping in quicker than they normally do. Well, obviously, it's going to have to do with the throat chakra. The throat chakra, though, yeah. Okay, thanks. Don't forget, Mercury is going direct on the 31st of July. However, with it going direct on the 31st of July, it will still be in shadow for 2 weeks. So the first few weeks of August, Mercury is in shadow. In your communication, you want to pay attention to your details because with it being in shadow, it may be addressing some darker aspects. And you may not even be aware or realizing that you are doing it from a darker point of view. So what Spirit originally gave me before they started changing how I was going to word it was when I asked about Sag. They're saying you're going to be dealing with situations of learning how to create the I can energy. You're coming into a growth of learning how to create for yourself that I can energy and actually believe in it. Okay, back to what I was saying. Like I said, they keep interrupting me, which is fine. I'm thankful that they are able to send that forward. I just trying to keep everything going on this side. What's going on with me. Spirit, when I first asked them about Sagittarius for this time around, they pushed the right side of my energy down, like my whole right side of my body. And so I thought they were like saying, that energy was being pushed back at first. But what it is the way that they explained it to me is, how like it's a game that's been played, or an idea that's been showed to work with energy. Like if you have a person on both sides of you and pushing your arms down when you're trying to lift them up, you're creating that energy of you trying to push forward and them pushing down. But as soon as they let go, your arms automatically rise on their own. It's like they float. It's like they rise. You know what I'm saying? And it's once the resistance is gone, it just lifted. I feel like this is either what they're saying is about to happen for you, or why you're having problems. Because you're still fighting with the resistance instead of giving it up to the higher self, so to speak, and releasing, surrendering, and letting go, so that you can just float. You can just rise. So it's one of the two. You are going to be dealing with the heart chakra, because I'm also being given, this is a lot of heart chakra versus head. This is heart versus head, heart versus crown. A lot of, your head is thinking one way and wanting to do one thing, but your heart is saying another, and that's causing my neck to have problems. Which is, way I look at it, is typically, I call the neck the highway between the heart and the head. And when the neck is hurting, it's because they're not getting along. They can't come eye to eye. They're having a problem within that situation. And usually that causes those issues. Is there anything else? Obviously, some of the situations are because of situations within grief. I feel like you're holding on to things you have no power over, you have no control over. You've been holding on in some areas, you've been holding on to things, and you have grief over it, but it's something that's out of your hands. And because you're holding on to it, it's actually holding you down. And I feel like you may not even realize that you're doing it. Or at least for some, you don't realize that you're doing it. And another thing is when I asked for Sag, right off the bat, and I am getting this across the board a little bit. And let me explain. I'm getting what smells like chlorine. Or I should say tastes like chlorine. Like when you've gotten some water in your mouth that, I don't know how to explain it. Like if you've been at the pool. I feel like it's the pool energy. But what, like the chlorine that's cleaning up the pool. And helping it to be healthy water, so to speak, so that you can go into it. And what this is telling me is across the board, and this will deal with that Lionsgate energy, is that basically right from the beginning, we have some emotional depths that are being cleansed, being cleared, and it's helping us to move forward. But then I'm being given artificial heat for Sagittarius directly. I'm being given that cleansed water and artificial heat. Now, I don't think that it's fake heat or fake fire. The way that Spirit speaks to me is they give me the artificial heat so that my nose, my senses know to address it to fire. Fire energy, coming into your firepower, coming back into your Sagittarius fire energy. You're coming back into yourself and being able to project it outwardly with a new cleansed view is what I feel like I'm getting. Now, when I get into astrology in general, you have the Lionsgate, which obviously is on 8/8. And the reason I'm being told to do you all first is because The moon will be moving into Sagittarius on that date. So during the Lionsgate 8-8, it will also be in Sagittarius. It will actually be coming from Scorpio into a void, of course, into Sagittarius. And I think it's at like 4:30 it actually enters, 4:30 p.m. it actually enters Sagittarius. So you will be Sagittariuses. You are definitely going to be in your emotional senses of what Sagittarius is in the moon sign at that time. This is sun, moon, rising. But if you're a sun sign, this is your fire and your water together combining during that illumination of that Lion's Gate. For all intents and purposes, the Lion's Gate is the energy leading up to that date of 8-8. There's going to be a lot of things that are rising up, sifting to the surface, so to speak, and then helping you to like jump over the fence on the Lion's Gate if you've come into that clear state of mind, that higher vibrational frequency, that rising attunements of self. Then you'll be able to go through that gate, because for all intents and purposes, the way we see the Lion's Gate is kind of like an angelic realm or an angelic doorway that helps you to ascend. Now, I do promise you, if you did not learn the lessons and you have not made it through, on the 28th, there's going to be an extra hidden door that will be open. So, you do have time, but the point is not to waste the time. The point is to get right with self, get into the truths of self. But if you've been having trouble overcoming situations on 8-8, there is that extra situation that's definitely going to probably knock you down and push you in the right direction. Moon in Sagittarius typically is kind of double illuminating what the Sagittarius is. It's inside and out. Because a sun sign in Sagittarius is the core of what a Sagittarius energy is. But from a moon point of view, they're more, let me get into that learning. Let me spend that time. Let me go and take like a weekend away. It's let me learn, let me take a class and learn this real fast. Let me acknowledge this. Let me have a part of this part of my life. Sagittarius is very much on the go energy, and this is why I feel scattered. Especially if, like I said, if you're a sun and the moon is coming in, you are going to be feeling both the sun and the moon within yourself on that illumination date. If you're just a moon or ascending, it won't be quite the same. But if you're a sun sign, it's definitely going to be more intense for you on that date. On the 11th, Mercury moves back into Leo, and that's a Sunday. Jupiter goes direct on the 11th, which is also a Sunday, like I said, because this is the same day. And on the 11th, you also have Uranus going retrograde. So your ruler is taking its turn back to a direct situation. Being a Sagittarius sign, you're ruled by Jupiter. It has been communicating with you and bringing bits and pieces of information and magnification about everything and that information to you. For all of this time it's been in retrograde. It's about to shift, and now you're going to start communicating back outwardly with the world. So this may be why I'm smelling and tasting, like the chlorine, the waters from within, and feeling the heat at the same time. So it may be, like a flushing out. A flushing out of cleansing and finding yourself again. And as you've been finding that, you're starting to express it outwardly because Jupiter is shifting and moving outwardly. However, Uranus is going retrograde. And don't forget, both 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, at least, both Jupiter will be in shadow because it just went direct. It will still be in shadow as it's turning. And Uranus will be in shadow because it's turning into retrograde, which means your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your magnification, your higher knowledge, all may be going through little situations of viewing things from a darker aspect simply because they're shifting. Mercury, again, would be bringing that communication into Leo. And Leo energy has a lot to do with you. You are definitely going to be feeling a lot of that fire energy because Leo is one of your sister signs. But that's your 8th house. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, that's your 9th house. So all of this energy coming through that illumination is speaking to your 9th house and your 8th house. Your 9th house is where I always say, typically, is where a higher self resides. It is, the 9th house is our philosophy, our religions, our law, our learning, our higher educations, our ethics, our morals, our spiritual urges, our psychic energy, our visions, our higher mind, wisdom, books, rituals, and journeying, like shamanic journeying in general. So it's where the higher self resides and speaks to you from. For you, that is coming from a Leo energy. And Leo, during this time, it's like bases are loaded. Leo, for you, has on the 8th, it has the sun in it, it has Venus in it, it has Mercury in it, and it still has Vesta in it. And don't forget that it truthfully has 2 guardians of the pole in it. So you are talking about Venus being there with extra sensitivity, because the guardians of the pole, 2 of them technically, and your higher self is the guardians of the pole, with 2 of them in Leo, are technically speaking to you of double illuminating just those 2, Venus, Saturn, and the sun energy. Sensitivity, all of your senses, plus your how you feel about things emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. The sensitivity speaking to you about what's good and what's bad, why it's good, why it's bad, or negative. Venus also speaks to you in the sense of how to charm a situation or how to hurt a situation. And the guardians of the pole has that Venus energy. Well, you also have Venus there, so you're being triple illuminated with sensitivity in your higher self. Then you also have the sun in Leo at this time, and the guardians of the pole speak to you about the sun being extra illuminated. So you have triple illumination going on in your higher self. And then Saturn is speaking to you rules, walls, and boundaries from the guardians of the pole. Really going, well, what's the limitation here? So what's not working and why is it not working? And let's understand that so that we can set these new rules, walls, and boundaries so that we are working for our higher self in the best way possible by understanding where it's not working. You're being triple illuminated in both the sun and the moon, plus you have Mars there. You have the energy of Saturn there because of the guardians of the pole. Mars is bringing in sexuality, extra firepower. It's passion, action, aggression. Sexuality is how you feel about yourself. And then what is it, Vista? Like I said, Leo is on fire right now. And it is not Vista, it's Juno. The sacrifice and commitment it takes to truly get to be understanding who and what you are, to authentic, to truly stepping into a new authentic self. So all of these energies are coming out of that 9th house during the Lion's Gate. And the Lion's Gate, is being projected by that Leo energy of making you look at everything from a different point of view. But Leo also speaks to you on a universal level of the 5th house, which is asking you to pay attention to your creativity. That's why they said creativity of I can, because this is your universal 5th house on a normal level. Not from a Sagittarius, from a universal standpoint. Your universal 5th house is actually communicating with your Sagittarius's personal 9th house. And it's asking you to help you create your higher self. Help you understand who the authentic self is, help you step into that. And part of that is by understanding what makes you happy and what doesn't, because that universal fifth house speaks to us of pleasure, creativity, our children, our lovers. It speaks to us of dating, our hobbies, our sports, what it is that makes us express ourselves and enjoy life. And your higher self wants you to enjoy life. So you have to marinate this energy. You have to marinate what part of life are you expressing to the world that makes you happy. And if you're not finding that creative expression and not finding what makes you happy, then you're going to have more problems connecting with your higher self, because your higher self wants you to be happy. And you can't create who you are and bring it into tangible reality unless you can start to actually communicate with the authenticity of who and what you are. So they have a very important combination of marinating, is basically why Spirit was pointing out creative I can. This is figuring out a different level of yourself so that you can bring it into tangible reality. Now, the 8th house, which happens to be what the responsibilities are within your relationships and addressing those responsibilities within those relationships, is where Sirius Star is speaking to the North Node. And this is only going to get more powerful, this energy, as you walk through this whole month, because that's where you're going to lead that energy to on the 28th of coming together, if you haven't learned it by then. Because for you, that's Cancer. Cancer has the North Node in it right now, and the North Node is saying you have to learn this in order to move forward. For you directly, this is teaching you how to properly nurture these relationships and the responsibilities in them. Are you learning how to properly nurture them? Or are you continuing to do the same things you always have done, which may be working against you? Joint efforts, joint finances, joint resources. By having joint energy here, it helps you bring a transformational healing into relationships instead of it all being about me or me, one person or the other. It needs to be in balance. It's like they say, if one person is busy chasing, the other person doesn't have time to, or you should both be seeking each other out, whether it's a spouse situation, a relationship, or a partner. But in relationships, anything you care about, you have a relationship with. I say this all the time. When you have no money, you know all about your relationship with that lack of money. So anything you care about, you have a relationship with. Not just your children, your loved ones, your family, your husband, your wife, your spouse. It's not just that. You have a relationship with your working environment. You go to work to get paid. Well, they expect you to work. They expect you to show up, or they don't pay you. You have relationships. What are the joint resources, the joint finances, the joint efforts? Are they joint? Are they balanced? Are they fair? And as you look at these relationships and realize where you are learning what you need to learn in order to move forward to nurture the relationship from your part, honestly, then it will help you move forward in a more helpful, healing way. Because Cancer also speaks to you on your universal 4th house because that's what it normally rules. It rules normally the 4th house, which is home, which speaks to you of inner emotional security. If these relationships are not in fair balance, your inner emotional security is not in balance. You can't be real with the situation because they're not in balance. You can't be real with something that's only giving you half or not even half. You see what I'm saying? You can't have a healthy relationship when one person puts all of their effort in and the other puts none. This is what this is speaking to you of. You learn how to have a new level of inner emotional security by creating that proper balance and knowing what your part and your responsibility is to those relationships. And then how to transform it and bring it into a brand new healthy relationship within your life. That is basically what is hitting you the most importantly from this Lionsgate, because the Lionsgate is created, it's coming in Leo energy because there's so much going on in Leo energy, and it always takes place at the time of Leo. But it's created also by the Sirius star. The Sirius star is God's consciousness in the way of viewing it. It's Thor's hammer in the way of viewing it. It's the enlightened teacher, and it's helping you to see where pieces need to be tweaked in order to have them better, because it's speaking directly with the North Node, which is definitely illuminating the importance of this for you. And it's only going to be illuminating it more and more and more as the month goes on. And being told and how to find yourself. How to find yourself and your own balance within these relationships is a part of what you'll be learning. But this is going directly across to your universal second house, and it's speaking of Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node being in the universal second house for you, which is Capricorn. And this is speaking to you of your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem. Capricorn always wants a return on its investment. It's not going to waste its time building a foundation on something that doesn't work. But the problem here is the South Node is with these rules, walls, and boundaries. You've created walls that nobody can get in. You've created walls of self-worth, self-value, self-esteem to protect yourself. But are you protecting yourself? Because is the way I'm feeling it. The South Node is telling you what you've gotten very good at doing, and it's bad habits, bad patterns that you've created for all the right reasons, but they don't serve you anymore. And when we're talking about your self-worth, your self-value, and your self-esteem, that means either you're putting yourself up too high or you're not putting yourself up high enough. You're not allowing people to get in and be part of these relationships with you. So they're not being able to have actual joint situations with you because you're taking on either too much responsibility or you're not taking on responsibility at all. That all has to do with where you're standing in your self-worth, your self-value, and your self-esteem. It also deals with what you value in life. What is your possessions that you value, like your phone, okay? The things that are movable products, how you create and spend your money. If you are creating and spending your money upon what that self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem is, when you're bringing it to a healthy way, it also helps you create money because you're doing it from a positive standpoint. If you're doing it from a negative standpoint, then it's going to be bringing you less of it. And it speaks to you of valuing things less. So this is about finding proper value in yourself without overrating yourself or underrating yourself, more or less. And like I said, there's a part here within within the relationship you have with yourself that needs to shift. Either you're not giving yourself enough love or you're giving yourself way too much love, and it's turning into a narcissistic point of view in a form or another. Like I said, this is self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. And most likely, it's because you're not letting people in and giving yourself the love that you deserve. Maybe you don't believe that you deserve it or that you're worthy. And that's a situation that you need to heal and move forward from. Because you might be setting walls that are too high, aren't letting anybody in. Or it might be on purposely keeping people out to keep you protected. But you're not going to, Spirit saying either way, the true pursuit of pleasure is not being found because of which direction it is that it is for you, whichever direction it is that it is for you, whether it's you have it too high or too low. It's messing up your pursuit of pleasure, of your creativity, of, your lovers, your personal interests, your sports, your hobbies, and how you enjoy life. There's something that's throwing off that pursuit of pleasure that's not being at its healthiest point, and it has to do with these relationships, their joint efforts, their joint finances, their joint situations versus its self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Something there has to be rebalanced, is what Spirit's saying. Now, like I said, you also have Mercury coming back in on the 11th. I told you, this energy that's going on with your higher self and learning to truly trust and believe in your ethics, your morals, your spiritual urges, your higher self. Trust within, giving yourself the authority to accept who you are. That communication is going to come back in on the 11th, and then it's going to be coming back in on the 11th, where it's starting to move away from that shadow. So it's coming back in, and it's going to be speaking to you for the rest of the month of how to help create that pursuit of pleasure within understanding who you are and acceptance of who you are, so that you can be your true authentic self and come to a higher level of learning of who and what you are. This energy is very much getting along with your Jupiter. All of Leo's energy right now is definitely in harmony with with Sagittarius. And this is where Jupiter is about to go direct. This is your sign. So Jupiter is abundantly helping correct it, abundantly helping you to get closer to your true self by magnifying it. Even if it has to do it, because it's going to be going direct, so we'll be speaking to you in a little bit of shadow as it shifts. Even if it has to point out some of those details about what about you need to address so that you can heal yourself and then start to move forward, it will be bringing it to your attention. Your universal fourth house, which happens to be Pisces, has Neptune in it, and it's speaking with Uranus, which is about to go retrograde, and it is speaking with Saturn, your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem. And it is also speaking with this energy coming out of those relationships house in very positive ways. The only thing it's not getting along with is your Jupiter. So your Jupiter is saying, get out of your comfort zone. There are things that are helping you move forward right now, but you're not going to move forward if you can't step out of your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, you'll stay exactly the way you are, and then you'll create a brand new cycle all over again. Things are there to move forward in a very positive way, but if you're staying in that comfort zone, you're never going to find your true inner emotional security. And therefore it's going to keep you from finding true pleasure and happiness in life, is basically what this is all coming down to. Now, I'm not going to go over every single different aspect. There are days that are definitely more important than others, but I'm giving you mainly the energies that you're seeing over this time. You are going to have on the 7th, the day before the Lion's Gate, there is a grand trine, a grand water trine, an emotional trine, which is the moon will be in Scorpio. Like I said, on the Lion's Gate 8-8, the moon has entered into Sagittarius. But prior to it, the day before and half of the day of 8-8, the moon will be in Scorpio, moving into Sagittarius. So the day before, it's at its emotional height because Sagittarius feels everything to the nines. And what I mean is, if you're in love, then you're all happy and foo-foo and yay, it's great. And if somebody betrayed you, you know all about it. Because Sagittarius is like the clue game. I want to know everything about everything, and I want to understand it. And I will dissect it in every which way possible. I have to make sure that I get it. It's like the detective that won't let it go. And if you push too hard, you'll create things that aren't even there because the detective is looking so deeply for it. We are over emotional when the moon travels through Sagittarius. So the day before, it's definitely going to be speaking to you, and that's your universal 12th house. Okay, that's why I'm telling you. It's your universal 12th house, speaking to those relationships, and then speaking to your self-worth. There's something about your subconscious, your hidden self, your self-deception. It's something about the secrets that you keep in the closet, what's dormant, what you don't want to deal with, that's caused grief, sorrow, and secrets, and you'd rather keep yourself from having to address it. But by addressing it is how you heal it. And it's definitely going to be bringing its attention the day before the Lionsgate on the 7th. You have an energy similar, which is speaking to you the day before that on the 6th, which is the moon still in Scorpio, actually going from Libra into Scorpio on the 6th, speaking to Uranus, which will be in shadow, speaking to darker aspects of your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, which happens to be in your 6th house, speaking to your everyday mundane tasks. What about these everyday mundane tasks have you set that aren't setting healthy situations for your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, where you're not being able to create this, and these mundane tasks are keeping you from doing so? Because it's speaking to that 9th house of getting to truly know yourself on a more authentic level, and then bouncing back up to Scorpio into that 12th house again. So there's hidden secrets you have from yourself, hidden things that are dormant that you don't want to deal with, secrets in the closet that have kept you from healing yourself by bad patterns and addictions you've created at one time you thought that was helping you, but they don't serve you anymore. And in fact, they're keeping you from getting to what you truly desire. And they are bringing themselves